of green space in the heart of Vancouver, Stanley Park is considered one of the world's most beautiful city parks. But it's not a man-made park. It's a natural forest. And like most forests, it's teeming with countless creatures, big and small. On this trip, we'll explore Vancouver's urban forest through some of the plants and animals that call Stanley Park home. Another word for home is habitat. And Stanley Park has a variety of habitats for plants and animals that live in wet climates known as rainforests. Stanley Park is a temperate rainforest. That means it's full of plants like ferns with long fan-like fronds and lots of trees that keep their needles all year round. These trees are called coniferous trees or conifers. Some of the oldest conifers in Stanley Park are firs, hemlocks, and cedar trees. Many of the trees in our park have stood for hundreds of years. Although, one day in December 2006, a massive storm tore through our park. Hurricane-force winds blew down more than 10,000 trees, including some large trees on your right. Whether laying on the forest floor or standing tall, the trees that surround us are some of the biggest plants in our park. But we have lots of small stuff too. Some of our small plants and organisms live in aquatic habitats, like freshwater ponds. If you look to the left, you'll see a green-looking pond. What makes the pond look green is a microorganism called algae. The pond is also home to amphibians, such as frogs and salamanders. Amphibians thrive in aquatic habitats because they're cold-blooded creatures. That means their body temperature is the same temperature as the water or air around them. As we leave the pond, we enter another habitat on the right-hand side. This is a meadow habitat. A meadow is a grassy, open area that's home to all kinds of flora and fauna. One animal often seen in our meadow is a barn swallow. Barn swallows are birds that like to nest in and around our sheds and barns. That way, their nests are protected from the weather. For food, they catch insects like grasshoppers, crickets, and dragonflies. Barn swallows may be skilled hunters, but they're no match for the majestic bird that sits on a mound of rocks to your right. Bald eagles are Canada's largest bird of prey. With a wingspan more than 2 meters long, they fly as fast as 120 kilometers an hour. Scanning Stanley Park shoreline from above, they can even pluck salmon straight from the ocean. While eagles fly high during the day, at night, our park is turned over to nocturnal creatures. Nocturnal creatures are animals that are most active during the night, like rats, bats, and owls. There are lots of different nocturnal animals in our park, and many of them have large eyes to help them see in the dark. As we enter the darkened tunnel ahead, prepare to scan the tunnel walls for murals of your favorite nocturnal animals. Daylight returns. Passing over the upcoming trestle bridge, we enter more wetlands. Wetland habitats are home to all kinds of interesting creatures, such as beavers and turtles. Looking to your right, you'll see a pond where our resident turtle lives. Turtles are some of the oldest reptiles in the world, having evolved millions of years ago. While lots of small animals live here now, Stanley Park was once full of large, warm-blooded mammals. Before last century, wolves hunted in packs, deer and elk roamed free, and bears would hibernate in hollow trees while cougars silently stalked their prey. But large creatures like these need to roam, forage, and hunt. They need huge forest habitats to survive. So, without endless forest, their numbers quickly dwindled. At the start of the 20th century, very few large animals remained. The last cougar sighting in Stanley Park was in 1911. While the park saw the last of its cougars more than 100 years ago, one impressive mammal remains today: humans. Humans are classified as mammals because we share many of the same characteristics, including being warm-blooded. Being warm-blooded means we can live in almost every climate on Earth. People are an important part of the natural world because our influence is felt far and wide. For thousands of years before Stanley Park even existed, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations lived on this land. The land, its animals, and plants played a significant role in their daily lives. One tree that meant a lot to coastal First Nations was the western red cedar tree. Some nations called the western red cedar the tree of life. That's because this rot-resistant tree provided the best material to build their homes, canoes, clothing, artwork, and more. But First Nations people weren't the only ones who valued our trees. Between 1860 and 1880, loggers came to this forest too. Most of the trees they took were used to build houses. With more houses came more people, and Vancouver soon became Canada's third largest city. But logging by hand was a tough job. Some of the largest Douglas fir trees stood as tall as 100 meters, as high as some office buildings downtown. And those trees were heavy too. Some of those fallen trees were so heavy, teams of horses had to move them. Sometimes a tree was just too big to move and was left where it fell. Nowadays, many people are drawn to Stanley Park to see the beauty of our towering trees. Living trees are widely celebrated for providing the oxygen and shade we enjoy. But even fallen trees have purpose in a forest. Fallen trees are a great source of food, water, and shelter for all sorts of plants and animals. The Douglas squirrel is one creature that loves fallen trees in their habitat. That's because they like to nest in old hollow trees and hide their food under stumps. These fallen trees also act like squirrel highways. Stanley Park squirrels have their own private network of squirrel highways to let them get from place to place quickly as they gather cones, fruits, and mushrooms. And while our squirrels rush about hiding food for a harsh winter ahead, this forest continues to slowly change and grow. From the littlest drops of rain that replenishes our pond, to the wildlife biologists who study our plants and animals, the future of our urban forest unfolds in moments. Some moments go unnoticed by the human eye. Others are recorded in our history books. From the area's earliest recorded beginnings as a pristine forest full of wild predators and prey, to its role as the lifeblood for thriving First Nations communities, from its history as a storied logging center to its official park status in 1888, our urban forest will forever evolve because forests like these are a complex community, a community of plants, animals, and people that live in delicate balance so we can all survive and thrive in this special place we call Stanley Park.